This conference will now be
I'm gonna
recorded.
try to check right now.
Okay.
Mo.
Yes.
Oh, maybe they muted themselves because Betty, Cassandra, and Diana are muted.
Correct. So
I think I'm still having audio issues.
Okay. So what I was, hi Danielle, see that you joined. I just want everybody to know that as Casey was talking, what we'll do is we're going to mute everybody. So as you join the meeting, I can control who can be muted and unmuted. When you're ready to pose a question, do you see the little chat box over to the right? Looks like a
Yep.
little bubble. Just you can either raise your hand or send a chat that says that you're ready to speak. But Casey's going to go around and call your name. And as he calls your name, I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself so you can speak. We just don't want any feedback during our live stream. And so right now,
So are we still waiting or are we ready to go?
yeah, Reed said that there was still an issue with the audio.
Hey, I'm still troubleshooting the stream. It might be a minute. I apologize.
Okay. What I was curious is if someone calls in, and do you have an extra phone to call in, Reed? And try to work that way.
All right. And all right, no problem, James. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, the whole screen went squirrely on me.
Reed, is there any way to, is the stream doing it through the computer, or is it doing it through, can you call in?
It's doing it through my computer. It's pretty much the only way I can get this working.
Okay.
Still working on it here though.
Casey, do you want to go through any protocols or whatnot for the board? Do you want to? I know that you've gotten your script, so he's pretty much going to facilitate the meeting and then call upon each one of you. Anything else?
Well, so I'm calling upon everybody for roll call, but then
Yes.
like if there's an action item and then I have to call on everybody individually.
Yeah.
So, okay, because I can't do anything like, are there any nays, right?
No,
Okay.
each,
The
what will
stream's
happen,
live. We have audio. It's working now.
okay, great.
Okay.
All right, Casey, so what we'll do is as you go through and do your roll call vote, you'll follow your roll call conduct and then, or the sheet, basically. Ask each one of the board members yay or nay. The only one
Okay.
that I see that is currently absent is McIntosh.
Okay.
All right,
I'd like to call to order the board committee of the whole meeting, March 25th, 2020. It is 6:24. I am going to do a roll call vote. Vice President Wright,
she's, here, let me unmute her. Present.
Secretary Ramsdell,
I don't know why she can't.
Secretary Ramsdell,
I see her present, but I can't hear her voice.
Treasurer Green,
Present.
Trustee Perry,
Here.
Trustee Strozier, Trustee Strozier,
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. You muted me, Monica.
Sorry about that. It's the feature.
All right. Now is the time for the board to hear any comments from the public. Mr. Reed Fulton from VARTEC will read the questions coming from the community members utilizing the YouTube channel live stream our board meeting. Members of the public are reminded that the board, by its bylaw 1370, is not under obligation to answer questions, make commitments, or statements in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. Reed, please begin reading the community questions.
I have none at this time.
Okay.
Seeing no questions, we will move into action items. Ms. Washington, can you present the action items, please? For the Human Resource Committee, I'm sorry.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me? Could everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I am starting with action item 1.3, personnel recommendations. I seek your approval to, I want to make sure I have the right script. I'm sorry.
Nope, it's the,
No, it's the, I got it.
yes.
Right, I'm sorry. Okay, so action item 1.4, notice of consideration of non-renewal. I seek your approval to move action item 1.4, notice of consideration of non-renewal of administrators' employment contracts to the regular board meeting tonight, March 25th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 1.4, notice of consideration for non-renewal of administrators' employment contracts to the regular board meeting tonight. Is there any discussion? It looked like it said that Diana Wright was talking and caller one was talking, but I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I
No.
didn't hear anything either.
Speaking. I didn't say anything.
Real quick, I apologize for interrupting. The stream got shut down from YouTube copyright issue, so I'm gonna figure out why on that.
Okay. All right.
Can we continue the meeting though, or are we kind of at a standstill until then?
We
It's
can
probably
still,
gonna be a while, unfortunately, so I think we'll probably have to continue personally.
I have the meeting is currently being recorded by GoToMeeting. So as long as we are continuing our meeting, we can post the meeting for the public and it will be uploaded.
Blake, I think I'm getting some feedback from your phone, but
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like he's walking outside.
okay, so is there any discussion on the action item? Seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move action item 1.4, notice of consideration for non-renewal of administrators' employment contracts to the regular board meeting. Vice President Wright,
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Secretary Ramsdell,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Yes,
Trustee Perry,
yes.
Trustee Strozier,
Yes.
and myself, yes. The motion carries 6-0.
Who's got wind blowing?
Thank you.
That'd be me.
All right, Blake, so I'm gonna
Because
mute-
it's distorting the speech. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, can we mute Blake? I know
Yep,
we've been trying to do that for some years, but
Blake, I will turn the volume back on for you when he calls upon your name to vote.
I'm just playing with you, Blake. All right. Ms. Sikowski, do you mind taking the Finance Committee, please?
Sure will. Thank you. I seek your approval to move action item 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms to the regular board meeting tonight, March 25th, 2020.
So
It
moved.
has been
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms to the regular board meeting. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Perry?
Didn't we just do something with this at the last meeting?
I thought we sent that to the full board meeting.
You did. I'm speaking just so you guys are aware, there was an increase of like $50, so that's why you're seeing the difference. When it was originally presented to you on the 11th, it had a different amount, so it's been increased by $50. When you look at
Oh,
your,
okay.
Actually, it was only about $37, not crazy,
Thank you.
but there was a slight increase in what was originally presented.
And why was that?
In working with Sonatrol, the entrance at Doyle Ryder is very different from the main entrance that is utilized. And so they needed to find a power supply to be able to have the buzzer function properly. That was the slight increase. They needed to find, I think they called it an electric strike. So unfortunately, it went up about $37, $38.
Okay, I'm good.
Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Wonderfully.
Okay.
Yep.
When you mute us, does that just deal with the background noise and not our actual voices?
No, you're muted. So like if you're muted, then you can't talk. You have to use the little chat box to raise your hand, basically.
do you see the chat box over to the right?
Yes, I see that. And so I do have one comment to make about this. You know, if it's something that has been brought to us before, maybe just a little explanation, I guess, you know, maybe it was somewhere that I overlooked, but just to let us know why it came back, because our team had already done, so maybe just a little bit of an explanation would have been good.
Understandable. I know that when the updated executive, I updated the executive summary to show you the price difference, but I understand the clarification needed.
Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move action item 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms to the regular board meeting. Vice President Wright,
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Trustee Stroja,
Yes.
and myself, yes. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Sikowski. Ms. Stewart, will you take care of the academics committee?
Yes, thank you. I seek your approval to move action item 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from amended consolidated application to the regular board meeting tonight.
Seconded. It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from amended consolidated application to the regular board meeting tonight. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee Perry?
Okay. Why is everything being amended?
Kiana,
There are we have an opportunity during the middle of the year around this time to go back and amend everything. We don't all get our full allocation at the beginning of the year. And so once our final allocation becomes available, we have to go back and amend the budgets and allocate those additional funds that we receive. So that's why we're doing an amendment at this time. You'll see that annually every year. You'll have an initial a consolidated application, and then you'll have an amended one once the final allocations are distributed.
So when it's amended, is it us that how do I say this? Is it us that that we would say to them, we might need more, or we could deal with less? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes, ma'am. So generally, we receive about 80% of our allocation upon the initial budget cycle. And then once the final allocations become available, generally around January or February, they give you your full complete allocation. So they generally give you more funds to allocate. And so you have to go through the process of budgeting those funds as well. So we'll always have an initial allocation and an amended allocation, because that's our final amount that we receive from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the motion to move action item number 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from amended consolidated application to the regular board meeting. Vice President Wright.
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell.
Yes.
Treasurer Green.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yes.
Trustee Strozier.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. The motion carries 6-0.
Kiana and I thank you.
Thank you, Kiana. Before I join the meeting, do any board members have any comments? Seeing no further action. Oh,
Before we adjourn, you said? I'm sorry.
correct. Before we adjourn the cow to go into the regular board meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, no.
Ms. Perry?
No.
Seeing no further action, I declare the board committee of the whole meeting adjourned. Pretend I just rapped a gavel. Now let me switch my script really quickly. I call to order the Flint Board of Education regular board meeting, March 25th, 2020. It is now 6:38. Vice President Wright,
Present?
Secretary Ramsdell,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Present.
Trustee McIntosh, Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Trustee Strozier,
Yes.
and I am here as well with bells on.
I don't hear them ringing.
Did everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
For some reason, my stuff started to kind of go out. So are we, how do we properly do the Pledge of Allegiance with
We're gonna let you
everybody?
lead us.
Say it again?
We're gonna let you lead us in the pledge.
Okay, and then we're all just gonna go at it together?
Absolutely.
Perfect. I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance to the
the
flag
Flag
of the
of the
United
United
States of
States
America,
of
States.
America and to the
And
and to the
republic
the
republic
republic
stands
for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
God, indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all. That is not easy hearing everybody talk at the same time. Yeah. On my script, I don't have the
standards of practice.
yeah, I don't have the standards of practice.
Yeah, and I don't have it in my on my thing.
I have it.
Yeah.
Are we able to skip the standards of practice, or are we not able to do that?
No, I think that would be all right.
Just for tonight? Okay, good. We'll skip that. That way Diana doesn't have to read the entire thing by herself.
Fine.
Um,
Oh, I also have it, but yeah, I think skip it.
okay.
I think
Approval
we
of
all
minutes.
agree.
Okay, good. I would like to entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes of batch from the February 19th, 2020 regular board meeting, March 11th, 2020 special board workshop meeting, March 11th, 2020 board committee of the whole meeting. Are there any corrections?
For clarity, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Are
Thank
there
you,
any
Perry.
corrections? Seeing none, I will now conduct a roll call vote. Vice President Wright,
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell,
Yes.
Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Trustee Strozier.
Yes.
And yes for myself. The motion passes 6-0. Do we have access to the public right now?
I'm wondering if it's him that's,
No, we don't. Like I said, the stream literally got like they said it flagged it for copyright. So they literally shut down our stream, and I'm trying to reach out to support, but it's very difficult to reach. You know, it's YouTube support, so I'm working on it, but I don't think it's going to get resolved in any near future right now, at least.
Even though there's no public presence, do I still need to read this to stay in compliance?
No, you're fine. I would like, if the board members, have any, knowledge of any comments that folks have said, we'll just add it to the end of the board meeting as you typically do during your public comment time. This section is regarding the agenda anyway, so typically we seldom get comment about agenda.
Okay.
Question. Do you think it would be smart on our part to just say we're having difficulty that has nothing to do with us, it's beyond our control, And that's why at this point, we can't get public comment. That way we have it on record, just in case someone tries to start something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So do I just need to say that?
Yes.
So as of this time, we are currently having technical difficulties that are beyond our control that we are working on diligently to get fixed. As of this moment, we are not able to entertain live audience from the public. We're hoping to have that fixed before the end of the meeting.
There you go.
One friendly amendment, you might want to actually ask people to submit them in writing if in fact they cannot speak.
Okay.
Okay. If anybody has any questions or comments regarding the agenda items and would like to submit them in writing, please feel free to do so. That being said, let's move into the superintendent's communique.
So good evening. My communique is not a traditional communique. As we stated last week, we had an employee, Ms. Amy Peterson, pass away. And so for my communique this evening, I'm just going to read a statement about her history in the district. And then we're going to have a moment of silence. And so Amy Peterson was a native of Flint, Michigan. Amy Sue Peterson was raised in Flint and educated K-12 in the Flint Community School District. Ms. Peterson graduated from Central High School in 1991. Ms. Peterson was employed for more than 26 years in the Flint Community School System. She began her career in 1994 as a transportation aide for special education until 2012. The last 8 years of her career occurred in various buildings as a classroom paraprofessional. Ms. Peterson's last position was at Durant Terry Mott as a one-to-one para. She is fondly remembered by her coworkers as warm, loving, nurturing, and a superhero, an inspiration not only to students, but also to others as well. Ms. Peterson formed a special bond with her students and with her left a warm spot on the lives she touched. She often spoke about how her grandmother had a positive influence on her life and how she loved living in her ancestral home. After a brief illness, Miss Amy Sue Peterson passed away on February the 11th, 2020. On this day, we acknowledge Amy Peterson for her service and commitment to the students, families, and community of the Flint Community Schools. She will be greatly missed. At this point, we'd like to have a moment of silence in remembrance of Miss Amy Sue Peterson.
Yeah, so as of right now, Alfredo is recognizes Alfredo as the owner of the deal.
Thank you.
So, so he will have to,
Okay.
Turn it back over to the board president.
That concludes the superintendent's communique?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. It's so weird not seeing everybody. New business and action and informational reports, Human Resources Committee. Ms. Washington, can you present action items?
Yes. I seek your approval to approve action item 1.3 personnel recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve action item 1.3 personnel recommendation. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 1.3 personnel recommendations will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please state aye, yea, or nay. Conduct roll call. Vice President Wright.
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell.
Yes.
Treasurer Green.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Yay.
Trustee Strozier. Trustee Strozier. Yay for myself. The motion passes 5. Trustee Strozier.
Yes.
The motion passes 6-0.
Just a
Thank you.
housekeeping item for the board, please. If you have any background music or television, please turn it down. I am getting some feedback for the recording.
Okay, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I seek your approval to approve action item 1.4, notice of consideration for non-renewal of administrators' employment contracts.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded. It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action on 1.4, notice of consideration for non-renewal of administrator's employment contract. Is there any discussion?
One question. So we're doing this tonight, and when is the date that we actually notify? Because I always forget that.
By March 30th, 2020. So each affected administrator will receive a notice of consideration of non-renewal, which must be issued to them by March 30th.
Okay. So when will they have their opportunity to speak to the board, if they want to speak to us?
Right. Those will be scheduled. It must be conducted by April 30th.
There you go. I knew it was a date that I was missing. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 1.4, notice of consideration for non-renewal of administrators' employment contracts will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please say aye or nay. Vice President Wright?
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell?
Aye.
Treasurer Green?
Aye.
Trustee McIntosh? She's not here. Trustee Perry?
Yay.
Trustee Strozier?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. The motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Ms. Washington.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Ms. Sikowski to present action items.
Okay, great, thank you. I seek your approval to approve action item 11.13, authorization to purchase ADA ramps.
So moved. 1.3 or 13?
11.13, my apologies.
So
Seconded.
moved.
I think it was already moved, correct?
Yeah.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve action item 11.13, authorization to purchase ADA ramp. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 11.13, authorization to purchase ADA ramp will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please say A or nay. Vice President Wright?
Yay.
Secretary Ramsdell? Secretary Ramsdell? Treasurer Green?
Yes.
Trustee Perry?
Yay.
Trustee Strozier?
Yes.
It's a yes for me as well. Secretary Ramsdell, one last time.
I'm not sure what's going on with Betty.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, I seek your approval to approve action item 11.14, authorization to perform abatement.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action item number 11.14, authorization to perform abatement. Is there any discussion?
Can I get a refresher on what this is? I apologize. I can't remember what it is.
So this action item, we were performing abatement at Northwestern in the boiler rooms.
Are you saying asbestos removal? Is that what you mean by abatement?
Yes.
Oh, okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay,
Sorry.
now.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 11.14, authorization to perform abatement, will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please say aye or nay. Vice President Wright?
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell? Treasurer Green?
Aye.
Trustee Perry?
Yay.
Trustee Strozier?
Yeah.
Then it's a aye for me. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I seek your approval to approve action item 11.15, authorization to repair roofs, job number 3.
So moved. It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action item number 11.15, authorization to repair roofs, job number 3. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, the vote to approve action of 11.15, authorization to repair roofs, job number 3 will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please state aye or nay. President Wright, Vice President Wright?
Aye. No, I don't want that.
Right. Secretary Ramsdell? Treasurer Green? Treasurer Green?
Yes.
Trustee
hear me?
McIntyre, Trustee Perry? I can hear you now. Yes, ma'am. Trustee
Yay.
Perry?
Yay.
Trustee Strozier?
Yes.
And it is an aye for me. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I seek your approval to approve action item 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms.
So moved.
So move. Second it.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action item number 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 11.16, authorization to purchase and install video intercoms will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please state aye or nay. Vice President Wright?
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell? Treasurer Green? Treasurer
Yay.
Green? Okay. Trustee Perry?
Yay.
Trustee Strozier?
Yes.
And it's an aye for me. The motion passes 5-0.
And I seek your approval to approve action item, 11.17, amending resolution of the sale of bonds and other matters relating thereto.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action item number 11.17, amending resolutions of the sale of bond and other matters relating thereto. Is there any discussion? Real quick, this was the date issue that we had because of how long it took to get the bond out. We discussed this at our last in-person meeting, correct?
So the energy bond is that, because you approved it quite a while ago. And then the second one, there are two, is to sell the bonds for the millage that was just recently passed by the community. And that one starts on page 65. That's to sell those bonds to pay off the debt that the district has that we're going to collect mills from property owners.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 11.17, amending resolutions of the sale of bonds and other matters relating thereto, will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please state aye or nay. Vice President Wright?
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell?
Her phone died.
Treasurer Green?
Aye.
I was
Trustee
just gonna
Perry?
say, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted you to know that Betty left the meeting, so I'm trying to get her reconnected.
Okay. Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Strozier? Trustee Strozier? It is an aye for me. The motion passes 4-0.
Can you all see me?
I can hear you now.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Are we supposed to be able to see each other?
There we go.
Yeah, I can't see you either, Mrs. Wright. I see Vera, Casey.
See Monica, Rachel, and Miss Washington and Miss Perry. That's all I can see. 4 people.
So
Typically, you
on
can
your,
only see who's talking.
yeah,
There we go.
there you
Evening.
go. So
Oh, really? I can see.
on your screen, Diana, there's a 4 buttons down towards the bottom. If you have there's a screen button that you can click, and then we can see you if you have a webcam.
I'm on the iPad.
iPad doesn't have a webcam on it, so we can
Oh.
only see your initial. We can't.
Oh, that's what it is. I should have used my laptop.
Yes.
Did we lose Miss Perry?
No, I'm here.
Please continue, Ms. Sikelski.
President Lester, can we get Blake's vote for the last one?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next thing that's in your packet tonight is the check register for February 2020. Is there any questions regarding that? Pardon me? No, seeing that, okay. And then following the check register, you'll see the balance sheet dated February 29th of 2020. Are there any questions regarding the balance sheet? Alrighty, and then after that is the budget versus actual, giving you a snapshot of where we stand for the year. Is there any questions regarding that? Okay, if you have questions in the future, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. The last thing that I have tonight is an informational about some investments that I became aware of. We have a CD at Chemical Bank, and we have a few stocks at some different companies that are listed there, and just wanted to let you know that we will be cashing those out and just depositing those into our savings account at PNC Bank. So that was just more of an informational of what we found and how we're going to handle that.
We're not doing anything anyway.
Well, real quick, are we waiting to cash out those stocks?
Well,
What's
I've been
our
thinking about
timetable?
that. This is something that we've been working on. I think I am going to wait. I mean, I know they had a good day yesterday, but I think we'll wait and see where we're at. It's not very much, so I'm not sure that it matters much either way.
And then for the CD, is there a cancellation penalty or anything like that? Do you know how long it's been?
It's been there so long, they have no idea who signed for it. So, yeah. So no, there won't be any penalties for us to move that over or to cash that out at Chemical. And obviously, just ease of administrating. You know, we can't have things all over. It's a lot harder to keep track of.
Sure. No, I get that. I just want to make sure. Sometimes there's an auto renew if we don't make a decision within 10 days. And so as long as we, as long as they're not going to hit with a 50% I can't do anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we won't do that.
This kind of action doesn't, this kind to just cash those out. I mean, that doesn't require action by the board.
According to the policy that I found, the board has a policy regarding purchasing them, and then, but there is no action to cash those out.
Could you repeat the first part of what you said?
There is a policy about investments, but there's no action required to cash those out.
It specifically says there's no action required to cash them out?
It does not speak to it at all.
Because that, to me, it sounds like that's something the board should approve because,
yes.
I mean, I realize that's not a whole lot of money, but it seems like the board should at least say they agree with that process. Let's cash them in.
Yeah, because dealing with finances.
So that would be something for the finance subcommittee and then the governance subcommittee because we're changing policy, correct?
No, she just said there's no policy that says we have to have. There's a policy to buy them, but I would think that if you have to get board approval to buy them, you have to get board approval to cash them in.
So will we need to amend the policy or create new policy?
So I think that
I think just simply as saying we agree that you sell them and have it on record. I mean,
I still think it should be.
what I think we should probably do is we should probably bring it to the finance committee and actually, I agree with Mrs. Wright that we need to figure out exactly what it says. If there's silent on it, then we should assume that the board should approve it. So we'll bring it to the finance committee and then bring it back for formal action next month.
Okay.
That's fair.
Are we having getting the text straight out a whole bunch of text messages? So how are we haven't made any progress to get so people can get on, or we're still in the same spot?
If I have support from the finance committee, we can schedule a remote meeting tomorrow with Carrie and you, Danielle, you, Vera, Diana, and I think the third one, can't remember.
No, that would be it, the 3 board members. Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it a rush to do this? I mean, I guess
there is no rush to do it, and we'll schedule one for next week with respect to the ability to get together and do this the right way. And so let's just give some time and gives me a chance to look at it, because I haven't had a chance to look at it as well. We've been out of the office, and then we can bring it together for the finance committee to look at it next week.
Okay. My question again in reference to the technical difficulty. Have we made any progress on that? I'm just getting a lot of text messages from people.
No, I don't think Ms. Danielle, I haven't heard Reed say that there was any resolution to it. And so that's where we are, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, real quick. I did
Superintendent.
set up a second stream and we got shut down a second time. So YouTube's just automatically flagging it and removing our stream.
Okay.
Just going forward, this is GoToMeeting. There's an alternative software called GoToWebinar. It's really similar, but it also allows audience interaction. I think going forward, we'll probably have to use that instead, but it'll be set up the same for everyone that's using GoToMeeting.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure the public has the possibility to ask questions and everything.
right.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sikelski. Ms. Stewart?
Hello. I seek your
Hello.
approval.
Afternoon.
Good. I seek your approval to approve action item 25.1, authorization to renew the contract for Power School Online Professional Development Software.
So moved.
Second.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve action item 25.1, authorization to renew the contract for Power School Online Professional Development Software. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 25.1, authorization to renew the contract for Power School Online Professional Development Software, will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please state aye or nay. Vice President Wright?
Aye.
Treasurer Green?
Aye.
Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Strozier?
Aye.
And then aye for myself. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. So Ms. Murphy and I are working together on the next one. We seek your approval to approve action item 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from the amended consolidated application.
So moved.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve action item 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items in amended consolidated application. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Question.
Vice President Wright?
Is there a reason why these items are being purchased so late? Is it because I mean, well, I'll just let you answer the question.
We received our final allocation in January, and so we have been through more than one review of our application. And so the majority of the grant was already in grant funds available. So this is the opportunity for us to go ahead and allocate the final allocation from the state. So I guess that's the best explanation. We've been under a thorough review multiple times with this application. There has been some transition for us at the state in regards to our state consultant. And so there's been some work to get on the same footing with the consultant. So.
Okay, so these are the items that were, that schools and offices put into the budget from last year?
This is the 1920, this is FY20.
So all of the items that they should have probably been getting initially, they're just now being able to order.
Well, this is an amended budget, so a lot of the items, these are not all new line items. Just some of them have been amended. So their funds they've been able to access earlier in the school year, but these are amended line items or additional line items.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote to approve action item 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from amended consolidated application, will be conducted by roll call. As I call your name, please say aye or nay. Vice President Wright.
Aye.
Secretary Ramsdell. Oh, she's still not here. Treasurer Green.
Yes.
Trustee Perry.
Aye.
Trustee Strozier.
Aye.
And an aye for myself. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, the public has an additional opportunity to comment. As stated before, Reed from Bartek will read the comments on the YouTube chat. Please be sure to identify yourself and indicate that you wish to make a comment to the board. Seeing there is no YouTube chat, Danielle, do you have any specific questions that people had written into you that we should talk? How does that process work?
Okay, and I have some for myself also, but I'll start with the text messages I've been receiving. The first one says, what is going on with the money that is saved by not paying parapros who were home due to caring for children and others? And she said, like me, who are sick. And after that, a follow-up question to that is, after the break is over, is he expecting people to still make wellness checks?
Say that again. You kind of broke up. I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is after the break is over, is he expecting people to still make wellness checks?
So there are two things. I'm going to let Ms. Washington talk. There's no money that's being saved necessarily from not paying paraeducators. We gave everyone the opportunity to work who would like to work, because that's what we have to have we actually have to have time cards or time sheets for people to actually work and actually to pay them. And that's what we talked about briefly in the chat last week. And so there's no money necessarily being saved. The wellness checks will actually be continuing all throughout next week and the week after that. Even though next week the entire county is shutting down, we are actually continuing the wellness checks. So the people who actually had the opportunity, who would not have had the opportunity to work, would actually have the opportunity to actually earn some resources next week, as well as the week after that, which is going to be our intercession. And so the wellness checks are going to continue. What we don't know, and this is the issue that is difficult for everyone that's dealing with it right now, is what's going to happen after April the 16th. We do know that it will likely require us to do more. The teachers will probably have to do some things, as well as other people at that time, because the state government, the governor's office has not given us any indication as to what they're going to do with respect to forgiving those days. This is all in the hands of the state legislature, just being candid. Until they release monies and or release days and or release the testing, we're sort of at the whim of whatever the governor says and our own understanding. And so over the next 2 weeks, while most people are on spring break, and we'll actually be working to figure out what the teachers should be doing with respect to remote supplemental learning as well as our paraeducators.
Okay, this is a question for me, and I do understand that people were given an opportunity to work, but
Yep.
some people could due to illness, caring for children, or whatever that may be. What happens with them being compensated?
So, Cassandra, if you would talk about the ability to use their sick days, et cetera, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, absolutely. So one of the things that we did as we were reevaluating, our plan day by day and understanding that, this is a crisis and what we can do to try and mitigate some of the challenges individuals will experience by not getting paid. So those individuals, the paraprofessionals who opted out of working as far as participating in the team that will be providing the wellness checks, and those who could not work due to caregiver situations or even risk and exposure for themselves, we have recently looked at the collective bargaining agreement and have. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
I didn't hear
Can you
something
hear
happened
me? Hello? Hello?
Okay, I can hear you. Hello.
We can hear you now, but your voice, it was like pixelating. The screen and
Yeah, it was
everything
like a
pixelated. Your
robot.
voice
Can you
was
hear me now?
messed up.
Oh.
Can't hear anything.
Now I can't hear you at
Okay.
all.
Okay. So those paraprofessionals who, how about now?
Better.
I can hear you.
Now can you hear
Words
me?
on, that's when it kind of dies out.
Okay. How about now?
Your voice and your mouth don't match.
Yeah, it's like a delay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I can close the screen if that would help. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. All right, great. So paraprofessionals who are not part of the team for the wellness checks or who couldn't work for other reasons, we recently looked at the collective bargaining agreement and considered the situation and allowed for those individuals to be able to use their sick leave banks for to be compensated during this period of closure in lieu of working. So the district by contract allows 5 paid emergency days for paraprofessionals. We've had 3 emergency closure days so far. So there's 2 days remaining that the district will pay the paraprofessionals who are not working. And then after that, the individuals can utilize their sick leave banks to be compensated for the absence. Those who are working still are allowed the same provision as far as the emergency days. So in the event that they cannot work remotely for that day for various reasons, they can use one of the 2 emergency days to be compensated for that absence prior to them using their own sick bank.
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Can I rest of my questions, or you want me to just kind of hold off?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done with the questions. Go ahead.
Oh, that's the questions I got so far through text messages. And my concern is, the breakdown in communication. I do understand that this is something that has never happened before. I get that, and I respect that. But I get a lot of messages, and I'm always trying to give the best information I can. So I need an update on the food services. Are we still providing food and delivery for our special needs population? Where we at as far as buildings being occupied? Is there any activity inside the buildings like it was before? Where we at with all that stuff?
So there's no activity in our buildings other than the cleaning that's happening in the buildings whatsoever. As I stated to you in the text message and an email that I sent to you on Monday morning, we were actually planning to close it down over a 2-day period for 2 5-hour days, but the governor preempted that, and she actually stopped us from actually being able to close the building out over 2 days as opposed to 1 day. So there's nothing happening in our buildings but for the fact that cleaning is going on right now. With respect to food service,
Right.
I saw the text messages the other day amongst the board members. We were told by Michael that his team on Monday afternoon said that they weren't coming in, given the fact that the governor basically said that they should shelter in place at home. And so he reached out to me, and I can leave it to Anita to talk about what they talked about today. But he reached out to me and said, we're going to have fewer people and we're not going to be able to cover the 24 sites. At that point, I asked him to tell me which sites were the most, where we had the most meals served. And he gave me the 6 sites where the most meals were served. And that's where we chose those 6 sites plus 1, because I said that we didn't have enough sites on the south side. At that point, he added Freeman as opposed to just the Southwestern. And so, Anita, you want to talk about where we're planning to move going forward, because you all had that conversation today.
Absolutely. And Rachel, if I missed anything, please jump in. So of the 7 sites, there were 2 sites, no, 1 site, sorry. 1 site where Michael was today, which was at the Regency. He opened up the Regency at the request of some community members and board members. He opened up the Regency, and at the Regency, he gave away 600 meals today. And so that is a site that we definitely want to keep open and continue to service. Outside of the Regency, he was planning to open up Summerfield on tomorrow and service Summerfield. His concern was that he didn't have enough staff, as Mr. Lopez stated, to be able to prepare the food and to serve the families of Flint. And so Mr. Ramon with transportation offered up some of his staff to assist because we know that there is a need at Ridgecrest, which is the housing complex that services Carpenter Road, Stonegate, and Howard Estate, because there was food that was donated that was being given to the families at Ridgecrest, Stonegate, and Howard Estate on today. And so transportation is going to help to get the food together, organized, and out to the families at those sites on tomorrow. Mr. Stewart is meeting Mr. Williams at 7:45 in the morning so that they can train those additional people on how to, the person is called a tracker. And they have to track the number of meals that are provided for financial reasons for food services. And so additional people are going to be trained tomorrow morning at 7:45 on how to track as far as giving out the meals. And Mr. Williams stated that he had about 30 employees who were currently working. And so we're trying to work with Mr. Williams to figure out how to shift his employees to these sites so that they can actually assist with the tracking of food, but then the other people, people from transportation, using some of the safety advocates to actually pack and load the bus so that it's not so burdensome on his staff. And so Mr. Williams was appreciative of that. And so we're going to try that tomorrow morning starting at 7:45 to see how that works. And so in addition to the 7 sites, we're going to continue to do the Regency, which is a site that happened today. We're also going to continue to do Ridgecrest, Stonegate, and Howard Estate, which were 3 other sites that were serviced today. And then Mr. Williams was planning to add the Summerfield site back on for tomorrow. And so that is 7, 8, 9,
11.
13, 11.
That's what I came up with. I got it.
13 sites. That's 13 sites.
Oh, great. Okay.
The whole other piece of this that Michael was very clear about is that he said, volunteers are helpful except for when it may actually expose his people to the COVID-19 virus itself. He said at least the people he knows his people, and he knows who his people are, and just having the folk from first student, that would be a finite amount of people. But if you have a numerous number of people coming to help serve, then he might be putting his staff at risk, which is why he didn't want to expand it with a lot of volunteers, because I don't know if you have been tracking what's happening in Genesee County. We went from 0 cases on Friday to 50 cases today of COVID-19. And so he just was very clear about how he wanted to make sure that he kept his team defined and didn't expand it to so much that he would put his own workers at risk who are actually providing a service in volunteer form.
Okay. I just want to say this: going forward, as a board, we need to know and be able to have input about sites being shut down, because I don't know how anybody. I'm not sure how many meals he served in the Regencies before he decided that it wasn't one of the ones that needed it the most. I can't even imagine that. So with that being said, I just would like, because when I spoke to him, and one of his suggestions to me was that they walk from the south side to Burston, and that was alarming to me. That's a long walk, and that was an indicator for me that Mr. Williams, I'm not sure if he knew what site should have been shut down, because that suggestion was just ridiculous. So I just would ask, going forward, that we were allowed to have some input. We're up to date, and we can kind of have some kind of say so in what should and shouldn't be done going forward.
We definitely can give the input out. What we're working with is their volunteers. In fact, both of those organizations are volunteers. They did this out of a request that we made to them. They actually are off next week and the week thereafter. They both agreed to do this just as a matter of course, because those employees are not ours, and they're not even under contract to do those things. And so absolutely, Trustee Green, we can make sure that you have some input as far as what's going on there and moving forward.
Is Mr. Williams familiar with Flint?
No.
He's not. He's brand new. He's not, Brian. He's not. He's not.
Okay.
And neither is Mr. Harris.
No.
Okay, because that's over a 10-mile walk.
Yep.
I Googled
Okay,
it.
I just want to make sure that that information does get back to him, that is cruel to say that we can't have our children and parents out there walking 10 miles for food.
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Is Mr. Gladney no longer in the district?
Mr. Who? I'm sorry?
Mr. Gladney?
No, he's not. He's actually the regional director. And so this is Michael Williams. And Michael Williams and Ramon Harris were the two that came up with the plan for the 24 sites, which was ambitious at the very beginning, because at that point, we were trying to make sure that as many people could work as possible. But when it became really difficult over time, Michael was the first to call me and say, this is a problem because our people are over 40 and they're concerned about the COVID-19 as well. So.
Okay, another question. So just so I'm clear, so Mr. Williams is a volunteer? Because I don't know who the people that work for him are.
No, Mr. Williams is the new Mr. Gladney.
That's what the director of food services, correct?
Yeah, right. And so food service and first student are contractors that volunteered to do this. We did not, there's nothing in their contract that says that they should do this. We asked them to do it and they actually agreed to do it voluntarily. And that's what they put this plan together for us because we asked them to. And so that we were trying to be accommodating to what their requests were as a result of them requesting to narrow the sites because they were volunteering to do it in the first place.
Last question. We have intercession or spring break coming up. Are we providing meals during that time? Or is there a stop date that we want to stop? Oh, go ahead.
We unlike other, we are providing spring break meals. Everyone's not doing it in the county.
That's true.
In fact, in the conference call with the superintendents, Lisa Hagel actually advised everybody to shut down the county.
I'm sure.
Because it's spring break, and she just said shut down the county. But we thank God we have partners in First Student and Sodexo that are willing to work with us to get this done throughout that time over the next 2 weeks.
So do we have a stop date? would we plan to stop serving meals, or will we think we won't be able to any longer?
No, we don't. We just hope that we hope that our capacity will continue at the current smaller capacity. So if we have 12 sites, 13 sites, we're hopeful that we can keep that going. We haven't run into a food shortage yet. We will run into a worker supply shortage though, because people will stop coming at some point. People will stop showing up, and that's what many of our colleagues in the county face. They actually had to stop doing food service because people said, "I'm not going no more. I'm not putting myself at risk."
Right.
And that's where we are in that regard.
It just posted.
I'm sorry?
Keep us posted.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Just a point of clarification real quick, and I only say this because I don't want the term to get confused the same way the term retreat could get confused, as we talked last time. When we say volunteer, that's a paid volunteer. It's not as if they're doing it for free. They're just volunteering to continue to accept the job. But I don't want people to think that Sodexo is doing this at no cost to the district. I think that's an important thing to kind of clarify, that yes, they didn't have to. They're not contracted. They were willing, an amazing partner in this process. I don't want people to volunteer people to think that we're, you get what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that that's a kind of a clarification there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. We pay the hourly rate for the employees to do the work that they're doing. Yes.
Yeah, I just think that those small distinctions can come back sometimes if we don't clarify, because everybody will try to hold us over the fire, threaten me with jail time, all sorts of stuff. So, Ms. Perry, you had something that you wanted to discuss?
You know what I did, and you know what I tell everybody to write it down? Yes, you didn't write it down this time, so.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know what it was.
Okay. Ms. Wright, do you have anything that you'd like to discuss?
You know what? I let me look at my page. I did write something down. Hold on. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it
It's
is.
too late now. It's too late now. Your time passed. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
We have treaded into areas that have never been tread before. Nothing is precedent on this stuff. Is it advisable for, well, I hope superintendents in their meetings will state some policies, put some policies or procedures together. When you all talk with the state of Michigan, they've got to put some things together, as well as our district. We, the board, will have to put some type of policy together, and of course, the administration fill it in, because you never know. This is the first time, and it may happen again, because this virus is not going to go away. I mean, viruses don't eradicate themselves. They what's my word? Mutate themselves. So we may be facing something again in the future. And so we need to have some things in place. I commend you all for the work that you've done, but we need to also, the board needs to try to make your job a little easier too, by putting some types of policies in place to help if this comes back up, and it is going to come back up.
So, Ms. Perry, I will tell you that would be proactive, and I would tell you that no other board is really thinking about that. So I think you're right. The soups are, when I tell you that they're throwing their hands up on the calls, they're literally throwing their hands up. What do we do with this? 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 And so I think with respect to guidance, we are not going to have any guidance for at least the next 3 weeks from the governor's office about the remainder of the school year.
Right.
But we do have to figure out how do we engage our teachers in working with our students. I do want to ask a question of the board before we get off this call here. And I do want to hear your responses to this. So there are lots of parents who've said to us that they could not get the packets because we had 2 days scheduled to get the packets and we only had one. Would the board be averse to us having one more half day of of distribution in our buildings to get the packets out to our families who do not have technology and therefore cannot get it remotely. Because we're at a quandary now, because I think we got about 45 to 50% of the packets out. We did not get them all out, and we've heard from our folk in the wellness checks that they don't have technology and they don't have the packets. And so I would like some guidance from you in that regard, so that we can make a quick decision about this week or first part next week, because we do have about 40% of our kids who got them and 60% who did not get them.
Can they be? Is that something that can be mailed? I got some questions in my email and my direct message about them being mailed out. Is that something that's a possibility to minimize the contact?
It is so expensive because they're all very thick packets. And I'm sorry, Danielle, I'm sorry.
So that would be a no, just so I can take the information back to the community who keeps asking me this.
It's a significant, we have all the packets were labeled with kids' names, so we know who got them and didn't get them. So it's not like we wouldn't know which packets we had left. It's just a really significant expense.
Okay, gotcha.
Is it an option to put a packet station at the food stations that they could pick up? Is that an option?
It's a good idea.
It is a good idea. We'd have to make some extra copies. We made copies, and what we did is we went when we did our first wellness checks. We asked them where they wanted to drop them, but that was when we had all 24 sites available. We don't have those sites available now, and so I'm just trying to figure out how to get that done.
Have we had conversations with some of the religious organizations and seeing if they can be of assistance in distribution?
So again, Blake, I hear you. I am concerned about exposing our people to other people. And that is my big concern right now. We knew who was in our buildings for the 4 days that they were in the buildings. We don't know who's in the buildings if we are just saying, we need, our responsibility is to get those packets out to parents. I'm just trying to figure out the best way possible. And religious organizations, while they could be helpful, to coordinate with another group is just very difficult, given the fact that we're all remote now.
You know, I think that the best solution would be for the packets to be taken to the food distribution sites, because I agree with Dr. Lopez, to minimize interaction. And so if that's one less interaction, if you don't have schools staying open for another half day and they're actually going where people are already doing some type of distribution. The only problem that would be is that the names on the packets wouldn't matter anymore. Basically, you have to just kind of black them out and just say what grade are you in. Here's a packet for that grade. So I'm for handing them out food distribution sites. Maybe just keep track of the number of them that are being handed out. They may not come back in the way anticipated, but at least you would be putting them in students' hands, because there are people out there who are really structuring their children's day to have school, but then there are others who are not. So this would be helpful for them to have, no matter where that child may have come from.
So I see nodded heads. So I see nodded heads with what Ms. Wright is saying with respect to making sure that we actually have the various packets available at the various sites for our kids, and have them available over the next week, and have them signed for them so we'll know which packets are being picked up. But it may not be the right pack. It may not be the name on the packet, but at least they'll be available.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hypothetically, I'm a mother with 3 children. One is at the junior high, one is at the high, and one is in one of the elementaries. So are you going to have the packets for all those different types of situations where a parent, if I go to Potter School, I guess, to pick up meals for my children, Are they going to have everything that I'm supposed to have, even though I may live on the far northwest side of Flint?
Yeah, we got it. We have to logistically mean that, put that out. I think we're going to have to do this. We're going to have at least 10 packets of everything available at all of our sites.
Exactly.
And that's going to take a couple of days to logistically get done. But at least we know we're passing out food next week, so those food sites will be there. It'll give us some chance to do this next week. So I hear you, Ms. Perry, and I'm just in my head writing the notes down and trying logistically to think about how that gets done.
Okay.
So something I'll say, I already asked everybody, right? There was no more comment. Everybody had a chance.
Diana was talking about one had something and she didn't see it. Diana, did you find it?
Yes. I was going to ask a question going back to the issue of paying employees, and I guess when I read the governor's one of, and I've been trying to find it since I've been on the phone. When I read one of her initial executive orders or updates or whatever, in my mind, it was clear that we were to pay employees during the period. It did not have any stipulations on only if you work. And so my question is not about why our district is doing things that don't jive with my understanding, but just ask if in the process of trying to decide what you are going to do, did you look at surrounding districts and see how they were handling situations related to paying employees, whether they were teachers, third-party people, paraprofessionals. If we look at how it was being handled and kind of try to be consistent with others, or did we just stick with the is it in your contract conversation?
So no, we looked at. So I was on the call with all the county soups, and we looked at what we're in cahoots with everybody in the county with respect to how we're performing and how we're paying. One of the things was that if people are on call, they can be paid as an hourly employee using title dollars. If they're not on call, which our employees, some of our employees just simply refuse to work. They refuse to even be on call, and so that's how we made the determination as to paying employees. We have and we receive guidance from not only our superintendents in the county, but other folk with respect to the state as to how we would do it, how we would do the work.
Okay, thank you.
Well, can I add something to that question? Just so I'm clear, on call can be paid with Title I dollars, and administrators can be paid with Title I dollars, because I think I remember that from text messages. And is that it?
Yeah, so basically, if people had agreed, for example, being on call says, oh, I need you to come in and hand out meals for an hour. And if you agreed to be on call for that hour, you might get paid for the entire day because you were on call for the entire day. There are people who said, I'm not going to be on call at all. I don't need to be paid. I need to be paid like the teachers are being paid. And so that was the challenge. We were trying to make sure that everybody could work and everybody could receive funds. And that was what we were trying to do with our plan when other people were just simply not making those allowances available for people.
So my question again, on call and administrators can be paid with Title I dollars.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, I said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I ain't hear nothing. Okay, gotcha.
Was there any other remarks?
No, I just want everyone to stay safe.
That's it. Be safe. I know I've canceled everything at the church for the next couple weeks, so just make sure that everyone's taking care of everyone.
Because they're saying in the next 2 to 3 weeks, this is when it's going to really hit us. So just stay safe, everybody.
So I'll tell you.
House, I'll throw one out the door too.
So family, There are a couple other things I want to say before we get off the call. We do not know what's going to happen after April 16th.
That's what
Right.
my,
We have no idea, but I will tell you that the flattening of this curve is not supposed to take place until the week of April the 23rd.
That's right.
So just
Oh,
be
Lord.
aware that we are in a space that we have yet to be defined. And so over the next couple of weeks, to Miss Danielle's point and to Miss Perry's point, we will be talking about what teachers will be doing remotely with folk, what teachers have to do, what parents have to do, what everyone has to do, because we're going to be in an uncharted territory.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to say this: I don't believe we're going to be back in school this
I
Let
don't
me
I
ask
don't
you this
either.
question, Dr. Lopez. With
But
graduation and with our seniors, what are we preparing for them? Because
yep. So,
I know for a fact that I've talked to some of our seniors at Southwestern, and they just want to know, will they still have to take tests? What's the protocol that they'll have to do? Will they have to redo some classes in the fall? Or has the state given some type of information about that as of today?
so the state is so they funded again, brother. They said it's a local decision. So we can determine, and that's one of the things that as soon as we get some guidance from the state, we can determine that we freeze their grades as of March the 13th when they were last in school. We can say that we freeze your grades at that point in time, or we could put them in Edgenuity, which is why we passed out one-to-one laptops for our seniors and juniors so they could finish the credits that they did not get. But it is a purely local decision. They are not going to give us any guidance. They're not going to do it. And so that's part of the reason over the next 2 weeks, we just got to pay a close attention to what's being said and follow our babies to see what they need. My first gut response is to freeze their grades in place as the last day of their last day of being in school.
Yep.
And therefore grant them their diploma as a result therefrom. But that's something that we will probably be discussing in the month of April as a matter of course, once we get further guidance from the state.
The other thing I would say on that real quick, if I can jump in, when we look at that, and this is just my opinion, but I would like to see us err on the side of the child. So A, if there's any sort of average, we need to round up on that average. B, let's look at a 6-week rolling trajectory of that child's grade. If in the beginning of week 1 they were failing, but then in the last 6 weeks started to trend up and we're increasing, from a E to a D to a C, let's make sure that we take into consideration the fact that had the year continued at that growth, they would have graduated. Get what I'm saying? I want to make sure that we err on the side of caution because these children are experiencing something that we could never even imagine. And I would hate for a child who really started busting his butt or her butt to miss out because of something that was taken from them. So I just want to make sure that we err on the side of the child and not try to protect anything else. Just let's err on the side of the child. I would rather a kid get a diploma who missed, 5 questions on a test versus, you know what I'm saying? You get it. So,
Agreed.
something that I want to say, so 2 things. One is going to be gloom and doom, and then the other one is going to be a little bit more positive. So the gloom and doom, my sister-in-law works in the COVID unit in University of Michigan University of Michigan Ann Arbor Hospital. And when I tell you we as a country are not ready for what we're going to start seeing, we are absolutely not ready. This is potentially going to be biblical. There was a doctor on the COVID unit who was 90 years old working with patients who contracted COVID and had to refuse a ventilator because there were other people in the hospital that needed it more. And he knew that they didn't have enough to go around. And he laid in that bed in that hospital with a nurse next to him because his family couldn't visit and breathed his last breath, making sure somebody else could have that ventilator. When my wife works for Henry Ford, they are now at capacity of 2 hospitals. We're going to start seeing people being treated in hallways, in hotels, in things of that nature. This is going to be something that we are absolutely not, as a global society, prepared for. And then this will quickly shift from an epidemic of the unhealthy to an epidemic of the unwealthy, because
Mm-hmm.
We're going to
Yep.
see so many people become bankrupted by this that we need to make sure that whatever we can do to prevent that stemming, that bleeding of the economy, if it means that we have to, I don't know, if it means that we have to, I don't want to say bend the law because that's probably going to get me wrapped up, but whatever we need to do to make sure we're paying people and taking care of people, that needs to be our first priority because that's, it's a huge thing. And I get that we're looking at it and all that stuff. The positive side, ABC 12 did a report today on Michael, who's doing the food service, and it was very positive, talked about some wonderful things. So Anne, I think her name's Anne Perret. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she did a really wonderful article. So if you get a chance, take a look at that and make sure you let your friends and family know.
Well, I seen one Winter did. I seen when Winter did it, it was really positive too.
Nice.
I just want to say this real quick. My family in Dallas, they live in Dallas County. Dallas County has completely shut down. If you work out, of course, outside the home, they're now demanding that your employer write you a letter. They have your name, the company you work for. You must show that because they are pulling people over now and they are arresting people. This is just Dallas County. This is not the state of Texas. This is Dallas County because my daughter-in-law left her. They just gave it to her today. She left it at work and she says, oh my goodness. She said, I hope I don't get pulled over. She said, because they'll give you once or twice. And after that, they just arrest you because they're figuring you're not following protocol. And my oldest grandson, both the kids are home now. My oldest grandson, his school gave all the kids a computer. So now they're on computers working and their schedule is broken up during the day so they can have their breakfast, they do their lessons, they have lunch and etc. But this is where they are and they will not be going back to school the rest of the school year.
Yeah,
so this is what's
that's
happening. This is how it's rolling now.
Right.
And I'll say something too, and this is I'm going to tread very, very cautiously, but I would be very cautious given the climate that we have sometimes surrounding some of our peace officers. I would be very cautious in any state where so much authority is being given in such a crazy time of crisis, because sometimes that power gets crazy. And so but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. But
Casey, that's a valid point. I've talked to some of our young guys in Flint and just them hanging outside. I told them, I said, this is not the time to be hanging outside.
It's terrible to say that, man, but I'm scared.
Cracking down a lot of that, and you don't want to put yourself at risk, but you also don't want to be seen as being combative to state police or to even the Flint police or even the county sheriffs. This is all hands on deck emergency, and people need to take this seriously. So
absolutely.
Can I just about an updated food site list? Will we be getting one of those?
We'll work on that tonight and tomorrow morning, so we can actually publicize that. We'll work on that. We've been putting it on the website as much as possible, so we'll work on that tonight, and it'll definitely be updated tomorrow. We may not have a chance to get it done tonight because we have to get Ms. Bridget to update the thing and make it happen.
And as far as the packets being distributed at the food sites, that's something we're going to make a final decision on soon.
So that won't happen until next week, Monday. I'm certain it won't happen. It won't happen tomorrow or Friday. We got to get the copies done to make sure that I like Mrs. Wright's suggestion and Ms. Perry's thought, but we got to make sure that the right copies are there before we do anything.
If I could, Danny, if I could make a suggestion about those copies, let's make due and timely notice to all of our district employees, staff, and individuals. I know that this last go around was kind of preempted by the governor's recommendation mandate, but we need to give staff and students and even grandparents that time so they can make sure that they get there so that it's not a surprise and that if they need transportation, if they need to ask someone to get there, they know they have a certain day or certain times they can get there, and they can make sure that they get what they need.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, our next board committee, the whole meeting will be held remotely on Wednesday, April 8th, 2020. Have a good evening and pretend I hit that gavel, baby.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a
Good
good
night.
evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How do you get off this thing now?
Just gonna hang up. Well, I guess I will.